Alright, what we got going on today? I'll tell you the whole story. This car belongs to my buddy's daughter. She was away at school, and I don't know how long, a year or something like that. She come home, this car sat the entire time. She went to drive it, it was making some type of funny noise, so he brought it to me, and all it was everything had rusted. The rotors rusted, brake pads rusted to the backs of the calipers, things of that nature. So we're just decided to replace everything. But disc brakes are easy. But I'm going to do this and show you this because this has front and rear discs. On the rear discs, you can't just push the caliper piston in with a C-clamp or an actual piston pushing tool like I've showed you before. If it doesn't have an integrated rotor drum, it has a turn-in style caliper, and I'm going to show you this because another good friend of mine, he comes over all the time. I work on his truck, his wife's truck. He stuck around while I changed the brakes one day on his truck, and he said, wow, that's easy. I should be doing this myself. And I said, I applaud anybody that tries to do anything on their own. DIYers, that's great. And my whole house was, done by me, my friends, everybody. But he called me up, and I was at my real job. Said I had to hurry up, come over to his house because him and his nephew were trying to replace the brakes on his nephew's Saturn. He said he actually broke the C-clamp trying to push the rear piston in. I said, you can't push the rear piston in, it's a screw-in type piston and you need a special tool to do that. He said, well, hurry up, come over, he's got to be at work at 3, and I just couldn't leave my job, so it kind of screwed him. And that's why I'm doing this video, to show you, you can squeeze, push, all you want. The only thing you're going to do is break something. And here's the tool. This thing. This is a cheap one, like Snap-on, and everybody else makes good expensive ones that are actually in a kit. This, you can get it anywhere. I think I bought this from Harbor Freight or AutoZone, but it'll do every single type of caliper. So we'll get started and show you how to do all this. Alright, on the fronts here. They are a regular push-in style piston. Now we're going to do the rotor and the pads. So to get the caliper off, you have one bolt here. This is a 15mm head. When you unscrew it, you look and you see that little black nub on the tip of that bolt. That's like a wear sleeve, an anti-squeal sleeve, I don't know what it is, but it has to go back where it came from. And the other caliper bolt, which is right there, doesn't have that. You can get them mixed up and put, opposite of each other. I don't know what the side effects are, what the consequences are. I've never done it or had to deal with it happening. But to get the caliper off, you take top bolt out, the bottom bolt out. Then to change your rotor, you got to get your caliper bracket off, which is that bolt right there. There's a top caliper bolt, there's the caliper bracket bolt. That's 15mm too. And then there's the other caliper bracket bolt right there. It's right below it, maybe about 6 inches away. 15mm wrench, socket, whatever you got, crack all that loose, and we'll see you at the workbench. Got something vitally important here to show you. Before you can pull this all apart nice and easy, get your pry bar or a screwdriver. You shouldn't use a screwdriver because a screwdriver is not a pry bar. It's unsafe. Stick it in here, stick it against the caliper. You'll be able to feel on the other side and just pry. And all you're doing is collapsing that piston just enough. See how the caliper's moving? You're just collapsing that piston enough. There goes my light. To have room so you can slide the caliper off the rotor. Now we'll go to the workbench. Okay, you got your caliper off and your caliper mount off. Bring the mount over to the workbench. You leave the brake shoes in it and just take them off over here. Naturally, you're not going to bring the caliper over to the workbench because you'd have to take the hose off and open up the system. Pop your pads out. That's simple. And then you want to clean everything. You know, you don't want any of this rust falling off into your new brakes or onto your rotor. So you give everything good cleaning, and all the mating surfaces, you know, where this touches the spider over there, and you want to clean up the spider, and you want to clean up your hub where your rotor sets against your hub. I'll take you over there and show you that in a minute. Get all this all cleaned up, then I'll shut up and clean and get this over with. Okay, you got everything cleaned up. I use Never Seez. A lot of people give me a lot of flack for this because they say you're not supposed to use Never Seez. I can't tell you how many vehicles I've changed brakes on that already had Never Seez on them. I've been using it for years. I've never had a problem. So use whatever you want. Silicone paste, they make actual a brake lubricant. It's unreal expensive. It's not worth buying, but if you want to go that route, you go that route. I take a little bit of Never Seez, and anywhere, like your caliper is going to ride against this right here and here, your brake's going to ride in here. Anywhere those two surfaces meet, or two surfaces meet period, I put the Never Seez. I put it here, here, down in the threads. You don't want your threads golden up. And then I do use silicone paste down inside these holes where the sliders go. And I'll show you that. But you don't have to pound this crap on here. You just want a nice even coat. You don't want it all globbed up. Just like so. That's all you need on those sliders. And then, like I said, for where the mount actually touches, I put a little around there. And I get a good gob of it on the brush, and I put it in the threads. You can put it on the bolt too, it doesn't matter. I just put it down in here because I don't take his crap back over to the car with me. And then I take my silicone paste. It's actually dielectric grease is what I'm using, but it's the same thing. This stuff is really expensive. These little cans of this are like, I don't know, 15 bucks. I just take, after I get Never Seez all over my hands, I stick it right in the boot, and I just pump some in. Not like a ton of it, but enough to cover. I do the same thing with the other one. Pump a little in. And then, since it's easier to do all this over here, I put my pads in over here. And I use this disc brake quiet. Hopefully you can see that. I can't see the screen on the camera, so I don't even know if any of this shit's showing up. But this stuff works really good, and you got to put it on like a half hour ahead of time because it turns into like a rubber. See how it's not coming off on my finger? It's almost like a rubber coating. And you know, if you were to make, you know, it just stops it from squealing, which they really don't squeal these days because all the technology that's in them, but it's cheap insurance for me. And the way I took these off, the squealer was in the back. I know some cars, the squealer has to go in the front, and you are able to reverse them. But the squealer came off in the back, and these were the original brakes, so that's the way they're going back on. Just slip them in. Try not to get Never Seez all over me. Just line them up flush. Do the same thing here. front one has no squealer. Slip it in, and there you go. Voila, done. Now see if I can get the camera set up inside of there so you can see me putting everything back together. And I'm probably not going to talk a whole bunch while I put it back together. You'll just have to pay attention and hope and say, if you can't get them off, you're not going to put them back together, so it really don't matter. But watch and hopefully enjoy. Alright, this is the best you're going to get for this picture. Take your new rotor, say new rotor, down here, up there, over there, whoops. But it's black, see how it's black? When I bought these at my Parts Professionals place, I told him what was going on. He said, well, we have these new rotors. They're, you know, Mercedes has been using them for years, and they're actually not a lot more than a regular rotor. This is a coating, alright? And when your brake pad hits it, all it does is wear off the coating where the brake pad touches, and the rest of the coating stays on, and then these don't rust. Which I thought was a really good idea. And the way this car is, if she's going to go years without driving it at a time, I figured this was a good idea. So you just take your rotor, slip your rotor on, right like that, right on the hub. I don't think you can see that whole hub. I do apologize about it. It's really hard to get these cameras in here, and my videoing equipment ain't that great. I'm not doing this for quality. I'm doing it so maybe I can teach you guys something, or somebody wants to do it themselves can do it. And that's that for that, and we'll go get the caliper mount and stick it on. Got the caliper mount here, putting it on. Caliper mount bolt. You guys can't see that at all, can you? There we go, that's better. Now you can see it, huh? Get one bolt started. Down here, get the other bolt started. And then we just wrench them in. You want to make sure those are nice and tight, but don't like kill them, tighten them, because you might not get them back out next time. Good enough. Alright, now let's get that caliper put on. Alright, we're ready to deal with the caliper. Now first things first. There we go. See how this piston's sticking out right here? You gotta push that back in. And I get a tool and show you how to do it. Here's the tool I use. It's actually made for this. You can use a C-clamp, but I just take one of the old brake pads, stick against the piston, put my tool in. It's got this handle. You stick the tool down in there, in between the caliper and the piston. You squeeze it in, just like so. Like I said, you can use a C-clamp for this. Most people have C-clamps. Not everybody has this tool. But I'm trying to look professional, so I have the right tool. There you go. You get that completely seated. Pull all that garbage out, and just stick the caliper on, which is pretty much that simple. push these down so they're not in your way. Oops, you gotta push the brake pads the whole way in too. I'm skipping a step here. Okay. Having a little trouble with that pad, that's all. Alright, now the brake pads are in the whole way. Caliper will slip right over. I just hold that rubber sleeve in, same thing down on the bottom. Hold that rubber sleeve in, and there you go. Remember what I said about this slider bolt with the wear sleeve on it? It goes in the top. You just get it started. Get your other one that doesn't have the sleeve. It goes in the bottom. And this one's, so for some reason, they're always a little stubborn. But take your time. I mean, make sure that you don't cross thread them. There you go, it started. And the same thing, you just wrench them in, and that's it. The front brakes are done. Okay, here's the rear caliper. Same deal. You got 4 bolts to get the caliper and the mount off. Right here is a caliper bolt. See the caliper? It's a 14mm head. Right there is the caliper mount bolt. It's a 13mm head. And then on the bottom, the same setup. Where are we at? There's the caliper bolt, and then where are we at? Man, it's so hard looking through these things. Now my hand's in the picture. Bunch of bullshit. Right there. That is the other caliper mount bolt right there. Alright. And here, this is the reason these are screw-in pistons, because of this setup right here. That's for your emergency brake. This spring, when you pull your emergency brake, it actuates this lever and it spins that piston out against the caliper. And the reason they do that is, with just a disc setup on here and this not being an internal drum plus a disc, they can't rely on the hydraulics in an emergency. They rely on a mechanical apparatus, which is the cable and this setup back here. And I've never tore one apart to tell you exactly how it works, so I can't elaborate on it, but that's the gist of it right there. Let me see if I can set you up and we'll get a whole view of. Oh, hopefully that's good enough. You can see everything. So, get the caliper off. And I already loosened these because they are like super tight. And these sliders are different. They're internal to this bracket, the mount. So all you have here is just a regular bolt. And that funny looking thing down in there, that's your piston. See how it's not hollow? And see how it has them 2 notches in it? That's what you use to screw that piston in. And like I said, I mean, that's what this tool here is for. I don't know how I'm able to film this to get you to see the whole thing. We'll just do our best. And they are, you know, righty tighty, lefty loosey, so right, you know, regular thread screws it in. You get those nubs of that tool positioned inside of there. screwing it down in. I really wish I could get you in there for a better picture, but it's too damn hard. Now you know what, I want to set you up better so you can see this. Alright, this is the best picture I can get you. It's wrestling this friggin' video equipment in here. Alright, stick your tool in there. Remember the tool with the knobs. Get it positioned inside of those grooves. And then that's all you do. You just turn until it quits turning, and it'll tighten up. And son of a gun, there we go. Alright, that's it. You just keep turning that so it screws in the whole way, quits turning, and then the rest is the same. Move your caliper out of the way. Take you out of the mount. You get both of your caliper mounting bolts out. There's one. There's the other one right here. That's out. Take your caliper mount, drag it right off. It's off. Then all you do is pull. Oh, that one's going to be stubborn. There. All you do is pull that off. And these are going to be identical to the front, other than screwing that piston in. That's the only difference. And they're smaller. Get rid of your old rotor. Clean all this up. Take your wire brush, clean all that up. Once you bang your pads out of here, do the same thing. Clean up these slides with your wire brush. Same deal. And you know, put your never sees on them. And then on these ones, since the slider is actually part of this mount instead of being separate, just peel back this little rubber sleeve like so. See how I peeled it back? And then you can pull that whole slider out of there. Take it up to the bench, see if we can do it. Yeah, see? Pull that sleeve back and just pull that slider out. And then clean it. Clean in there real good. Clean this off real good. And the same thing. Use your silicone paste, dielectric grease. Lube it all up. And that's it. Hopefully this helps someone. We'll see you next time. Okay, something I forgot to mention, which is really important. As soon as you get done doing the brakes, I mean before you even put the wheels on, get in the car, and pump the pedal till you get a firm pedal back. Because being that you've expanded all four of your calipers, they are no longer touching. They're not even close to touching. So, and I know several people that this has happened to. They put brakes on a vehicle, got everything done, got in it, fired it up, put it in gear, went jamming out of the garage or down the road, put on the brakes, and they got no brakes and they've wrecked. So, and the reason you don't have any brakes, I explained, your pistons are completely retracted. So it takes a few pumps to get them back. Make sure you do that. That's really important. All right, see you next time, guys. Thanks. Bye.